Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Wednesday in the rib, and the last, we are under 1 week till the big election, and boy, does it show. Mr. Transparency, Paul Coogan, who didn't say a word about anything he's done in the last 4 years, is now all over the media showing trucks and showing how much he spent 1.3 million out of the 70 million and not ever telling us what he did with the other 1 point whatever. You got the numbers. But
68.7.
68.7 million, and we all know he did behind closed doors. Just ask one of our former city councilors who was trying to make out all this stuff public. But again, it's just shameless political propaganda. All of a sudden, Mr. Hide behind everything, never had a plan for anything, has got diarrhea of the lips now. He's telling everybody about everything. And he's got all the people he bought off with their big fat pay raises spilling their guts all over. Oh, yeah, we got to worry about the algae. This is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Oh, we bought three street sweepers that we don't have anybody to drive, and who knows how long they'll be sitting dormant. Maybe they'll lose them like they lost that building. But I just had to start it off because you got me on a roll before the show just talking about this. I mean, this is just so blatantly political. It's incredible. It's like Mayorkas getting in front of the people and never, the senators and the Congress, and never answering the question. How many people cross the border? Well, we got a broken. No, I'm not asking you about the broken system. I want a number. Well, I have to show. No, I want a number. But I blame them too because he never gave a number. They should have said, "Listen, you nitwit. We are the government. You work for us. We are the representatives of the people. Give me a number. Either you don't have a number, which you should, or you don't want to say the number." We all know the number. And then he gave him the number. And that's even an underestimation. So listen, it's it is now. It's time for all the bullshit to fly. A week before, we're gonna see more of Paul Coogan in the next week than you have in the last 4 years. And with that, back to you, C.
Well, the thing that gets me is one of the things that he announced yesterday was the fact that they're putting the EMS trucks back at Candace Niagara Fire Station. For those of you that don't know where that is, it's at the top of Plymouth Avenue and Warren Street. And I know that Helen Rigo, who is a park board member and a traffic commissioner, and the former or current president of the Niagara Neighborhood Association, was livid when they took that ambulance away. And remember, the mayor took them away from all the neighborhoods to bring them down to the central fire station, even though it was going to result in longer response times, which he said is not a big deal because we're still going to meet the national average, which I think was 8 minutes. Well, 8 minutes could mean death for somebody who has a heart attack or a stroke. But now all of a sudden, the equipment's back at Candace Niagara. It's back over here at the fire station. It's back at the other stations. Wait a minute, Paul, are you wrong? Did you make a mistake? Or are you doing this just for the election? Just so that people don't remember that you took away their ambulances and the paramedics? I think that's what you're doing. Because I have suspicion that after the election, we're going to see things like trash fees and purple bag fees and a request for a Prop 2.5 override, and maybe some permanent layoffs of fire and police. These are things that I think may happen. Mark my words. Mark my words. Okay, because I will remind you, because I believe it to be fact. I mean, I know right now it's a prediction, but I believe it's going to happen because that's what they said before we got the lottery ticket, before we got the ARPA funds. And he's talking about $1.3 million of ARPA funds. Okay, $900,000. $900,000 for 3 street sweepers. 3 street sweepers. And like Chip said, we don't have the people to drive them, people who are qualified to drive them. And he says they're not just to pick up the trash. This is how he's selling it. And Paul Furlan's right there helping him right along because the propaganda machine keeps cranking him out at the government center. He says, "Oh yeah, it picks up the sand and the leaves, and it cleans the stuff out of the drains, the storm drains, so that it doesn't get back into the South Watuppa." How is that water getting to the South Watuppa? South Watuppa is uphill, not downhill. Okay? The water from the storm drains go down. They go down towards the Taunton River. So again, misinformation maybe. I don't know. Or are they just going to use those 3 street sweepers up at the top of Stafford Road and that area? Maybe Indiantown Road, maybe those areas. I don't know. We'll never know. We'll never know because we'll never know. We'll be happy if we ever see the street sweepers on the streets. And I see signs up. In my neighborhood, there are some signs up in certain streets that say no parking this day for street sweeping from 8 to noon or from noon to 4, whatever it may be. And you're supposed to going to get tagged. I've never seen a street sweeper, and I've never seen anyone get tagged. So are the signs there just for appearances? Are they just there for appearances? I really want to know because, again, ineffective government. That's what we have, ineffective government.
Well, listen, I did see a street sweeper on my street about 4 or 5 years ago. So I can't say I never saw one. I did see it once, and I've been living here for basically a half a century. So, but let's get back to EMS. What really disturbs me is that these are the same people that tried to justify him sticking them in a central housing unit and saying that we can get there within 8 minutes. It's okay for Paul Cougar to say that because he's clueless. But for someone who is an emergency medical to say something like that and not acknowledge the fact that every minute, every second means something in a cardiac arrest, to me, it's dereliction of their obligation and their duty. And I showed this the last time we talked about this. This is EMS, fire-based effectiveness, and these are some stats from studies. You have to get there quickly, and every second counts. So you should get there as quickly as possible. So this is what the study said. To get a survival rate of 67%, which means that 33% of the people may die if you don't get there within 3 to 4 minutes. For every minute that CPR is not applied to a victim of cardiac arrest, there's a 2.3% per minute decrease. So if they get there 3 minutes later, do the math. It's nearly 7%. And it's a 1.1% per minute decrease for the time before they get defibrillation. And a 2.1% per minute when they don't get advanced life support. When it comes to public safety, we're talking about lives. We're talking about lives. And if it was your family member who died of a cardiac arrest because this pinhead decided to move them all to a central station and say, well, we're making a national standard. And now they turn around and crow about every neighborhood's going to be protected. Every neighborhood's now going to be protected. Well, every neighborhood was protected. And then you reversed that. And now you want kudos? You want a pat on the back for putting it back the way it should be? Well, you're not getting it from me. Because I've actually done CPR on people in cardiac arrest. And I know how important minutes, seconds count. This to me is the worst, the most shameless example of politics. You cannot use politics when it comes to public safety. I'm sorry. And they do it all the time. Just like when they're going to ask for a 2.5 override with all the pay raises he gave his pals. And they even put it in writing. Oh, what a great pay raise we got. Oh, the mechanic got $19,000 for a pay raise, a mechanic. Okay, yeah, well, Paul made them all. He's not going to cut them when he asks for a 2.5 override, because you know what you'll say to him if he says, well, we're going to cut a couple of mechanics, a few of these other office rats that we put in on the payroll because I know them. If we get a part person, they're going to go. You know what people are going to say? Bye. See you later. What are they going to say? What they always say. We're cutting police and fire. We're cutting police and fire. You better give us your money. We don't care if you lose your house. We don't care if you're already paying an override on Durfee. We don't care if you're going to be paying almost $7 million on Diamond. We don't care that you're going to pay all these salaries on the jobs and pay raises I gave out. I'm going to take your firefighters and police officers away from you. Pay us more. And if you can't pay, lose your house, and maybe we'll get somebody down here on the T to take your place. And to me, as someone who saw people die, that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. Seconds and minutes matter. And manpower matters. The analogy I used about firefighting when they tried to justify, manpower decreases, and don't worry, they used the same thing. Oh, don't worry, the other pump will get there within the national standard. Don't worry about it. That's a lie. That's a lie. Yeah, it is a standard. But it's a standard for communities like that have volunteers and stuff like that. You can't, if you want effective fire protection in a city like Fall River that has, most buildings have balloon frame construction and they're close together, you need to roll an entire task force. They got to get there almost simultaneously. You can't have a pump come in 4 minutes later from another area and say, well, it's there under the national average, because, and I don't expect you to know this, but when you fight a fire, it's like fighting a battle. And you have to have a coordinated tactical and strategic plan. And in order to do that, you need certain elements. You need a ladder company for ventilation. You need an engine company to begin to lay attack lines, and you need another engine company to supplement that pump, and then begin to lay additional attack lines simultaneously for most effectiveness. Because every second you're not fighting that fire, it is propagating up through the walls, up through the ceilings, endangering lives and property. And I'm going to give you the analogy I used when I went before the city council. What they're telling you is, we're going to have a football game with you. We're going to start with 11 players, and you're going to start with 2. But by the end of the game, we'll get you guys 11 players. Well, guess what? By the time you get 11 players, you're going to be behind about 700 to nothing. So you think you're going to win the game? You're not. And for all you nitwits who stayed on your keyboard and have never been in that situation, you can kiss my you know what, because you don't know shit about this stuff. And you're going to go yammering on about, oh, the national standard, national standard. You never stood in front of a building with people hanging out a window, and I have, or people throwing babies out a window that were actually related to CJ. So I don't want to hear your shit about this. Back to you, CJ.
Well, I guess the heavy rescue one with a ladder strapped to the roof doesn't count, right? Oh, I'm telling you, it's just it's it's absurd. It's craziness, and you know we see what's going on. And we have to look back, and that's why people are already saying you don't know what you're talking about. The man never said that. The man never said that. The man never said that. The man never said anything about trash fees. The man never said anything about Prop 2.5. The mayor said it through his representation, through his representative, who was Mary Sahadi. It was said during a city council meeting, and I believe Paul was sitting right next to her when she said it. And he never refuted a word. And if had we not gotten the ARPA money, that's where we would be right now today. But I'm waiting to see this because again, $6.5 million on Diamond, it's got to come out of the city budget because there is no debt exclusion for it. So if that $6.5 million comes out of the city budget, something's got to give. And it's not going to be Paul's boys. It's not going to be Paul's favorite hires. It's not going to be all those pay raises. Those people aren't going to go. Those aren't the people that are going to go. Because as it is, the mayor was forced to give a contract, which, by the way, he doesn't want to release to me when I requested it because the city wants to review it before it's sent to the city council. No, he has 10 days to 30 days to send it to the city council. He's holding that off so that it can be past the election because he doesn't want to seem like a fool when he gets smacked with the same amount of pay increases that the police and fire got, that police and EMS got. And I think they should have gotten it. Okay? If the mayor can give 18% to one and 15% to another, why can't the fire department get 16% over 3 years? Okay? I've heard various numbers thrown about how much of a pay raise they got, and it's obscene and it's not obscene, and they deserve more, they don't deserve more. You know what? They deserve every penny they get. Regardless of whether you believe that or not, they deserve every penny they get. And you know when you're going to believe that? When you're standing outside your house, looking at the flames, licking at the siding on your house, and blasting through your roof. That's when you're going to say the fire deserve every penny they get. Okay? Or, like Chip said, when the firemen are standing outside the building and they're catching babies being thrown out of windows to save them from being burnt. That's when you're going to say the fire department deserves everything they get. But no, this mayor believed that we're going to go to arbitration to give them what they want because we can't afford anything but 2%. And we know the arbitrator gave them more than 2%, no question about it. Remember, public safety is always important to the city. The city council will never vote anything down for public safety. Yet at the same time, they'll be the same people who will vote terminating firefighters and police officers to make the budget work. Because remember, this year's budget, they never even compared revenues versus expenses. Revenues versus expenses. They never compared them, never looked at them. Why? Because Bridget, the chief financial officer, said, we're depending on future investments. Future investments, what? Another lottery ticket? I think we only get one of those, if even that. So it's going to be interesting to see. Back to you, Chip.
Okay, see. Listen, Paul Coogan did talk about the reinstitution of the trash fee verbally. We have the video. It's been on some of the Facebook pages. And I'm gonna remind all but everybody that supports Paul Coogan, there's an old Castilian saying, tell me who you walk with and I'll tell you who you are. So he's a pathological liar, and all his supporters are pathological liars. They like to tell half-truths and lies. He sat in front of that council and said, I am looking at reinstituting the trash fee. And he said, but I'm not looking right now at the purple bags. You're not looking at it. But then Mary Sahadi had her board right next to him, and we have it in writing. We have it written, and we have a picture of her on the board with all those things on there. 2.5 override, permanent cuts in fire and police, purple bags, and again, the override. Those were all things, and I can tell you exactly what Paul would have done if he didn't get that windfall of opera money. It would have already come to fruition. He would have reinstituted the trash fee immediately. And then Mary Sahadi would have went before the council and says, in order to stop us from going bankrupt from all the money we blow all the time, we're going to have to put back the purple bags. We may have to make permanent cuts in fire and police. And we're going to need a 2.5 override if you want to avoid the 2.5 the cuts in fire and police. And you know what the city council will do? Oh, let's get a 2.5 override then, because heaven forbid we stand up for public safety and say, no, we will not let you cut public safety. We are going to fund public safety. You figure out somewhere else to defund. Don't defund the police. Don't defund the fire. Defund all your people that are getting all your big fat pay raises. Defund your office staff who got illegal pay raises and are still getting them because they're compounded on an illegal base. Because we still remember the time that you ignored the fact that the city council did not approve the pay raise for your chief of staff and the other people that work for you. And you still gave them the raise, which is illegal. And like I said, you better light a lot of novenas, because if CJRI ever hit the Powerball or the mega bucks, I'm telling you, we're gonna hire an army of lawyers, and we're gonna sue you about everything. I'm still waiting for somebody to tell us how much weight in trash we're paying for the illegal picking up of private trash, because we're paying for it. That again, the Terry Sullivan rule. Shut up, keep your mouth shut, they'll forget about it. We haven't forgot about it. The city council sent you a resolution to stop, obey the city ordinance and stop picking up private trash. And you still are. For your entire 4 years as the mayor, you've been picking up private trash. And who's paying to dump that trash? By the pound. We are. We are. And your city council is just as much to blame. Because they sent that resolution in, you ignored it, and they went, okay, oh, we did our part. We sent in a resolution. You haven't done your part. You haven't done your part. There should be a full investigation of what the hell you're doing with that and how much we're paying. So with that, CJ, I'll turn it back to you, because one thing about, we do have long memories and we can prove it because we got the resolution. We've got the videos. And for all you Cooganites, you know, the truth is your kryptonite.
You leave me almost speechless, which is almost unheard of. You know, it's an election season, as we've spoken about through this entire election season. It's been a very quiet election season. The school committee hasn't said much, even though they've had issues which they don't want to address in public. The city council hasn't said much, even though there's been issues that needed to be addressed and they don't want to address them in public, except for Michelle Dion, who gets slapped down by her colleagues on the city council. But the unknowns, the new candidates, some are unknown, they've run before, they haven't made an issue. They've played nicey nice. Well, if you're going to play nicey nice now during the election cycle, that tells me you're going to play nicey nice when you're on the city council or the school committee. And guess what? I don't want somebody who's going to play nicey nice. I want somebody who's going to fight for the people. Fight for the people. I've seen them out, you know, with some standouts, which there have been very few standouts this election cycle. Very few standouts. People aren't out there to generate support for their clients or to even get their name out there. But we haven't talked about any issues. And the issues that have been talked about, both mayoral candidates look like idiots talking about them. Because they didn't address the issue. They talked around the issue. They went somewhere else. Or they started taking jabs at him. He's a liar. He's a liar. This one's a liar. He's wrong. He owes people money. You know, I don't care. I want to know what you're going to do for me as a taxpayer. Not what he's not paying or what you're not paying or if you're lying or he's lying. I want to know what you've done so far as mayor for me as a taxpayer, especially with that ARPA money. And I want to know what you're going to do for me as a taxpayer if you become mayor. I don't want to hear he's a liar, he's this, he's that, he's the other thing. Very, very, very slow election year. Very slow. And we get what we pay for, okay? And we don't pay much for elections, so obviously we don't get much in return. So that's going to be very interesting.
Well, quickly, I just got to get in. You're right, CJ. I did not see one city council candidate or even the mayoral candidates get up there and say that I will not allow the city ordinance to be violated. I will ensure that we stop picking up private trash and we find out how much these people owe us and get it back. I have not seen one council candidate or mayor or candidate say that I will not cut public safety. It will be the last place we cut, not the first place. And that's the problem. Everybody just wants to, you know, play nicey nice, and what's going to happen is, you know, no doubt he's probably going to get in, because I haven't seen much of a, and we're going to probably have the same old faces. And then when the city crashes and burns after a third year, the worst mayor we've ever had in history, the most unqualified, the poorest excuse for a mayor we've ever had, and that's saying something in the city of Fall River. The puppet king. So we'll all get their next anointed candidate, and we will have to move on. And when we hit receivership, then everybody's going to get pissed off like they always do, and then they're going to clean house. Then they're going to be irate. But then the city's going to be in such financial condition that it may never recover. And I think we're at the point now where we've had some bad economic positions, and we've ultimately dug our way at least a little bit out of it. I think this guy is going to bury this city, and we're going to end up as Detroit. And with that, CJ, I will put it back to you to close it up.
Well, I'll tell you, you're not too far off there, Chip, and we know that we know what we're going to be in for if we get the same people in office all over again. Because remember, if you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different, I'll put. Guess what? That's the definition of insanity, and that's where we are here in Fall River. Well, I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Friday.